Greetings, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Metal Command Podcast. Tony here with you, and today I'm talking about the new Stratovarius album entitled Survive, which to me is one of the best albums the band has ever put out, and the last three records are among the best in the band's catalog. But before I get into that, you can subscribe to the channel by hitting that subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button, and if you want to be notified anytime I post a video, hit that little bell to be notified when I do post a new video. Also, I'm interested to hear what you all think of the album. I really love the album, and I'm going to talk about my experience as a fan of this band and how I feel it compares to the rest of their back catalog. So, with that being said, I first encountered Stratovarius back in 1998 when I started my show. It was right before the album Destiny came out, and the album Visions was absolutely phenomenal, and they had an album called Episode and Fourth Dimension. Those three records were my introduction to the band, and to me, even to this day, all three of those albums are still pretty amazing. I actually went back and listened to them for the first time in a long time. And although I do like the first three albums musically, I wasn't a fan of Timo Tolkki's vocals on those records, but those songs weren't too bad. And then they had the live album Visions of Europe, which I thought was great. And I had started my show right after a lot of those records had come out, right after Visions had come out. So the first album I ever dealt with for radio was the Destiny album. And actually, I remember that album, I was let down a little bit, although the song SOS is among probably one of the band's best songs ever. And that single was sent to me by Noise Records, and they were really pushing that single and the band at the time. And then eventually, that album was sort of a letdown musically, but then Infinity came out. They had signed a Nuclear Blast, and that record is among probably one of my favorite albums by them. But, this was a band that I thought was finished when Timo Tolkki left, because I thought to myself, when he left and the band said they were going to continue on, I didn't think they would be able to continue on without him. I'll be honest with you. I was a little skeptical at first when this happened. Now, the Elements albums and, those records were kind of hit or miss. They really didn't have a big impact on me. I didn't think they were all that great overall, although they had their moments. And then there was some crazy, weird band drama going on back then, and they kind of broke up and then reformed and had the self-titled Stratovarius album, which was a little bit of a letdown. So after that, Timo Tolkki leaves, and the band continues on without him. Now, normally, when a band loses a key songwriter and a founding member, most of the time it really doesn't work out for them in most cases. It's in the case of Stratovarius, it actually has worked out really, really well, and they have really put out some great stuff. So the shirt I'm wearing, Polaris, that was the first album from this second era of the band, as we say, and it had its moments. It was a good record, but it was sort of like the Elements albums for me, where it had its moments, as I just mentioned, but it really wasn't like an out of this world release like Visions was and Episode was, and Infinity for that matter. But then Elysium came out, and it was a vast improvement. Still not really up there in the upper echelon of records, but it was an improvement. And then the album that really grabbed me and made me a huge fan of this band again was Nemesis. And then you had Nemesis, Eternal, and finally you have the album Survive. And this is the third album in a row that I can come out and flat out tell you that it is absolutely amazing from start to finish. And it's great to see this, and it's also interesting that they have done this and accomplished this without Timo Tolkki in the band. They've really, this band really found new life and has really been improving as the years have gone on, both from the songwriting standpoint, the production standpoint, just everything about them has just been absolutely amazing. And when I heard the single at first, they had a song called Firefly, which was the single. I was a little skeptical. Is this album really going to be good? Because believe it or not, in my opinion, the album was amazing, and the single is probably, in my opinion, one of the worst songs on the album. It's one of my least favorite. So when I got the record, I was like, oh my God, this album is absolutely phenomenal. And I really like it. Now, compared to some of the other releases they have put out. So let's sort of compare it to the last two full-length albums they put out with Nemesis and with Eternal. I'm not going to really count the compilation, the Intermission 2 that came out. I don't really consider that like a normal studio album. It's more of a compilation of stuff. So I'm going to omit that and talk about the last three records. Now, a lot of people love Nemesis. That's an album that people totally love from Stratovarius with this new lineup. And I have to say, in comparison to Nemesis and Eternal, I would probably say it's on par with both of them, meaning that if you like those two albums, you are definitely going to like this one. Do I think this is better than those two records? The answer would definitely be no. But it is on par. I don't think it's any better or it's any worse. It speaks more to consistency than anything. I think all three of these albums on their own are amazing and on par with some of the older material the band put out that really broke the band and ended up getting them a wider audience. And I'm talking about Visions, I'm talking about Episode, I'm talking about The Fourth Dimension. So this album definitely is very, very good. Now, the one thing about the newer stuff too is that it's a little bit different. It's a little less classical sounding, meaning that there was a little bit of neoclassical feel to the older material when Timo Tolkki was in the band. This is a little more in-your-face power metal type stuff as opposed to that. And I think it's great. I think it's a great direction for the band, and I absolutely love the record. So for my review, I'm going to give this thing a 9 out of 10. I think it's an absolutely amazing record. I think it's on par with Nemesis and Eternal. And if you liked one or both of those albums, you are definitely going to like Survive. So with that said, thanks for watching, folks. This is my review for the new Stratovarius album entitled Survive. And thanks for watching.